Well then, good morning, welcome. It's a Thursday and this is Breakfast Central at News Central with Olisa and Felicity. Well, we can say Happy New Month.
Yeah, yesterday we said Happy Month End.
Yeah.
Today it's Happy New Month. Welcome to April. Really?
Yes, and I think you've got stuff in your hair.
What's that?
Check. She's got stuff.
Ah, Olisa.
All right.
Okay,
so-
there's something we call April Fool. He just tried to do that to me. Good morning once again, and very glad to know you're watching News Central, Breakfast Central. Yes, indeed.
Right then, there's lots to talk about on the program today. Don't forget, you can always join our conversation. Let us know where you are watching from. Use the hashtag NC Breakfast Central. Follow us at News Central TV and head to our website for more. That's www.newscentral.africa. You can also download the News Central TV mobile app. Just simply head to your Play Store or iOS.
Today on the show, we will start by bringing you some of the news stories you may have missed as usual. And then the morning tea takes us around the continent, capturing some of the newspaper headlines. Then, of course, we have our impact conversation. Today, we'll be focusing on the fuel subsidy talks that has been ongoing for weeks now in Nigeria. After that, we will revisit the conversation we're supposed to have yesterday on the removal of VAT on sanitary products, also known as Tampon tax, by the Namibian government, and what it means for the girl child in the country and across Africa.
Yes, we'll also have some sports updates for you. Yes, and what's been on our timelines lately on this very first day of April 2021. And I'm happy, I caught you unawares.
Yeah, you did. I
April
completely forgot that we do this April Fool's thing. I honestly was, oh my gosh, what's on my hair? What's he saying?
Actually got an early morning April Fool.
Be careful you don't do the one that will give
Upstairs.
somebody high blood pressure.
Yeah,
Please.
as the morning goes by, so I think it's done very early because after that
people become conscious that it's the 1st of April.
Yeah.
All right, let's bring you up to speed with some of the stories. We will start with the United Nations humanitarians saying that the security situation in Mozambique remains volatile. The spokesperson, that's UN Secretary General Staffan Dujarric, stated this during a virtual conference, adding that about 8,000 people have been registered at arrival points by the UN Migration Agency, IOM.
Well, so we'll continue to follow that story regarding the situation in Mozambique, and the United Nations are clearly raising the alarm on what's going down in the southern African country. Let's move straight to East Africa now, where it's all about the president of Tanzania. Yes, Samia Suluhu Hassan has announced an appointment of a new finance minister and foreign ministers in a cabinet reshuffle. The announcement was made after the swearing in of Vice President Philip Mpango.
President Hassan appointed Mwigulu Nchemba as the Minister of Finance and Planning to replace Mpango. The president also appointed Liberata Mula as new Minister of Foreign Affairs and East African Cooperation. Hussein Yaha Katanga, Tanzania's ambassador to Japan, was also announced as the new Chief Secretary, replacing Bashiru Ali.
All right, so she's getting busy.
Yes, she certainly is getting busy.
Cabinet reshuffle already. Well, would that be smiled upon or frowned upon?
It doesn't matter, so long as if she's getting the right people in the right position to get the job done. It's it's a credit to her swiftness in taking up the mantle that was unintentionally foisted on her.
Yeah. Of course, many might say, but if there wasn't the unfortunate passing, will there be a cabinet reshuffle at this time in the government?
Life happens. Yeah. You can't always predict what's going to happen. I mean, we're here today. Who knows what will be tomorrow?
You never can tell, right?
Yes,
so new president, cabinet reshuffle after the passing of the former president, John Magufuli, who passed away, I think, sometime last week. Yes, and there was quite big news on the African continent. Well, then, let's move over. Still more news here. This time we're moving straight to the African continent, all about climate change. Now, it's now widely accepted that the Earth's climate is changing, and Africa is the most negatively impacted continent, mainly due to its high levels of vulnerability and low adaptive capacities and widespread poverty in the global warming, taking a toll on the African communities. Now, News Central's Chidima Hienatu tells us more with this package.
Over the years, the Earth's climate has fluctuated from dry season to warmer seasons, which has contributed to food insecurity, population displacement, and stress on water resources. One of the many injustices of climate change is that it hits the world's poorest countries hardest. African nations, many of which register the highest levels of poverty and emit the least carbon dioxide, are already being ravaged by global warming caused by human activities.
There's a lot of work to do in Africa, though it's quite obvious out there, the effects in Africa. Largely, the northern part of Africa is surrounded by deserts, and we have a lot of desertification going on there as a result of some of the effects of global warming. And, in these very dry places, there's drought.
Today, roughly 25 million headers of cattle, sheep, goats, and other livestock travel south with their animals during the dry season and then back north during the wet season.
Yes, there is a lot we need to do. One, we have to increase on our, creating awareness. But the greatest challenge we have in Africa is the level of poverty. Because of the huge poverty, people are not ready to listen. Even when they try to listen, they don't understand you.
Between 2030 and 2050, climate change is expected to cause approximately 250,000 additional deaths per year from malnutrition, malaria, diarrhea, and heat stress alone. The direct damage costs to health are estimated to be between 2 to 4 billion per year by 2030. Globally, the period from 2011 to 2020 was the hottest decade ever recorded. The latest decadal predictions covering the 5-year period from 2020 to 2024 shows continued warming and decreasing rainfall, especially over North and South African, and increased rainfall. With a population of 1,373,486,524 in Africa, climate change cannot be overemphasized. Chidima Ihanitu, News Central Television.
Thank you very much, Chidima, for that report. The conversation around climate change continues as while some people think it's a hoax, others know for a fact that it is a reality that needs to be addressed. Well, let's hope for the best, that leaders will continue to take the right actions needed to address the issues around climate change. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll be looking at the papers. Don't go away.
Welcome back. Still Breakfast Central with Olisa and Felicity. Yes, it's a Thursday, and yes, it's a new month, April 1st, 2021. And don't worry, I've given her an April Fool starter for the program.
There is nothing in my hair. Can you see anything? There is nothing.
If you try
Stop
yourself,
being naughty.
I will do another one.
Let's just get on with it. We'll start with the newspapers. Do we start in Nigeria? Where do you think
I think let's go Central Africa this morning with the Guardian Post in Cameroon. Now, they've gone with an interesting one this morning, the Guardian Post in Cameroon, that talks about, the Chadian president who was recently in Nigeria's capital of Abuja. But it's gone for the post, the headline that says, Debbie casts doubt on joint task force ability to defeat Boko Haram. Now, there's a picture there of Paul Biya, president of Cameroon, Muhammadu Buhari of Nigeria, and Debbie himself. He was recently in Abuja, and he was speaking about, perhaps the, lack of effort, so you have to say, from the joint multinational task force to fight Boko Haram, saying that the situation where the force carries out only one major operation is not good enough to defeat Boko Haram. So that more on that on the front page of the Guardian Post in Cameroon.
Right after that, we'll be looking at the Daily Times. Should be on your screen in a second.
That's in Malawi, Daily Times in Malawi. All right.
Yes. It says, infighting costs DPP in elections. UPP loses 3 seats. MCP triumphs. UTM, UDF claims stake. That's it on your screen now. And then, of course, you have Malawi has no time for luxury. Chakwera, who doesn't have time for luxury? Well, you might want to go read details of why that comment is coming on page 5 of the paper. And a cherry one there, World Bank tips Malawi on economy.
All right, so since we're in the south of the continent, let's go straight to, I think we can go down to the Sowetan. Yes, let's go from Malawi to South Africa to see what they have this morning there. So they've gone for how serial rapist was birthed. MPA awaits DNA results of more cases as 68 charges of rape are brought to court while accused lies in hospital after 9 long years on the run. And there's also one on the top there. The embattled coach of South Africa has been sacked. So we talked about it yesterday. Nseki has been relieved of his job. And it says Pitso Benny's names bandied about in hunt for Bafana coach. So the sacking of what's Nseki means that perhaps Pitso Mosimane or former South African striker Benny McCarthy are the names on the list of the SAFA, South African Football Association, to replace Nseki after South Africa failed to qualify for next year's African Cup of Nations in Cameroon. So we'll be following that one to see where it goes. But that's it on the front page of the Sowetan in South Africa.
All right, let's go to Kenya, I believe, with the Daily Nation. That's the next one for you. It's official. Raila in State House race. That's his picture on the front page. It's no longer a question of if former Prime Minister Raila Odinga wishes to take a 5th stab at the presidency, but whether his 2 opponents will step aside to give him a free pass. This sit-tight syndrome. We'll keep talking about it. There's more. You have 3 countries run out of free COVID-19 vaccine.
Wow. Which countries are those? There's more on the page 10. It says at least 3 countries have run out of the
That's still, I think it's in
AstraZeneca vaccine.
Counties,
Okay,
actually,
counties.
not countries. Counties. It's still in Kenya. At least 3 counties have run out of the AstraZeneca vaccine, with hospitals turning away thousands of eligible Kenyans, including the elderly. That's very worrisome development. We're just getting started with the rollout, and you're hearing people are running out of the vaccine.
All right, let's move straight to still in East Africa. Let's go to the Daily Monitor. That's in Uganda to see what they have for us this morning. Let's talk about storm erupts over Army Sacco money. But Felicity, check this out for a front page there. Wedding bells, if you may, says marriage and property. New bill seeks to solve wealth sharing. So it talks about a succession amendment bill 2018 intends to settle the management of estates of spouses who pass away without written will. So the percentage starts given there.
We should take the romance off our eyes and think of, in real terms, death is inevitable at the end of the day. We need to think about that, especially if children are in the equation. Well, that would be an interesting read if you wanted
because
to.
it's given up percentages here. It says 20%, the partner gets 20% up from the original 15%. So it's a really breakdown of things. So it's quite a serious story, albeit with that, wedding bell thing.
Yeah,
I like the way they make
that picture
twists.
just reminds you of running off to the sunset.
Have you ever run off?
Oh, dear.
You want us to start this morning?
No, can't run off now.
All right, let's
New
come home to Nigeria.
New Pope, let me
finally.
just take this one before we move away. New Pope names new bishop of Nebi. U.S. report stings Uganda on human rights record. So it's not just Nigeria.
All right, so let's come to Nigeria and wrap up quickly. We can start with the Punch in Nigeria. That's the last paper we will be taking this morning. So the Punch in Nigeria is where we'll go to. Says PDP, others carpet federal government as U.S. alleges massive graft in Buhari regime. Wow. And let's talk about corruption pervasive in government, including judiciary. That's according to security agencies and for the U.S. And rights abuses under Buhari government worse than under military dictatorship, says PDP. More on federal government, says APC keep mum over report, verdict depressing, says the CDHR ex-president.
This one is something we should all be worried about, especially for us in Nigeria, and that's doctor strike begins. NAD meets National Assembly over unpaid allowances. I guess that's where we will tap things off for the news papers. That's our morning tea for you right now.
All right, so we will take a breather at this juncture. When we come back, we'll be going straight to our impact conversation right here on Breakfast Central. But don't forget, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and we'll be right back for more.
Good to know you're still with us. It's still Breakfast Central with Olisa and Felicity. Time for us to take our first conversation this morning. In the past few weeks, Nigerians have been on edge as conversations swell around a hike in the price of fuel. Now, the conversation seem not to be ending soon, as the federal government and labor unions are yet to arrive at an agreement or an agreed price for the products.
Now, the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Group, with the group general manager, that's Mary Kyari, said that the NNPC pays 120 billion naira every month to subsidize premium motor spirit known as PMS or petrol. Now, Kyari noted that the burden placed on the NNPC by ongoing subsidization of petrol is quite overwhelming. As a result of the huge sum being paid, the NNPC boss stated that Nigerians would have to pay the actual cost for petrol sooner or later.
He pointed out that the product was currently being sold below the cost of importation, causing the NNPC to pay the difference. It says the NNPC is of the opinion that market forces must be allowed to determine the pump price of petrol in the country in the nearest future.
However, the Nigerian Labour Congress has said Nigerians could not accommodate any price increase in petroleum products. Now, given that many have been impoverished because of the COVID-19 pandemic and economic downturn, the Labour Union asked Nigerians to join the union to resist any attempt to increase the price, saying that they will be backing Nigerians for this. So now we want to get into these issues around this right now. And joining us is Mukhtar Mohammed. Mukhtar is a financial analyst and also quite a regular on our business program, Business Edge. But Mukhtar, good morning to you. Welcome to Breakfast Central.
My pleasure. Good morning.
Good morning. Mukhtar,
okay.
Yeah, let me start first. Why have there been, issues around subsidy removal in Nigeria? Is it, not right? It's not the right thing to do at this point?
It has never been the right thing to do for any government to subsidize petroleum products, especially when your revenue base is your means of revenue is that's the only means of foreign revenue you have. Subsidy can be good when you can quantify it and it's not issued in a lot of corruption. Just of recent, the NNPC was telling us that we are consuming over 60 million liters of fuel every day, and we don't have specific data to back this consumption rate. So it's not in the spirit of government to subsidize issues like this. You can subsidize in other areas that will touch the generality of Nigeria and make a lot of impact in their life. When I say generality of people say, oh, subsidizing fuel is not the generality of Nigeria, and I ask them, how many of you have 3 cars? How many of you have 4 cars? How is government cars about 6 or 7 are going? So each of that time we are subsidizing them. So we need to look at the bigger picture of what subsidy is all about. If you are saying you are doing subsidy on electricity that has to touch every Nigerian in terms of how much of those electricity you use, then I understand. But when you talk of subsidy, most Nigerians that you are thinking you are subsidizing for are the ones that suffer more for it, because any single volatile price they seem to be the one to suffer for it because the cost of transportation will go up. So who are you really subsidizing for? That has always been my advocate. I'm an advocate of removal of subsidy. I think I'm a full advocate of removal of subsidy. I've been on this for a long time, and I keep saying it. The best way to go is to remove subsidy. Government will come and tell you a lot of stories. It's because the government of Nigeria have refused to give back to the people of Nigeria. Because when you look at the cost of importation of petroleum products into Nigeria, that price jacked up over 50% when it comes into the Nigerian water. That is what the government should be looking at. How can we reduce that rate in terms of these charges that were charged on most of these containers so that the generality of Nigerians will not suffer so much? That is the way that if government is saying they want to reduce subsidy, that is the way I think they should reduce subsidy directly from the source, rather than reducing subsidy based on consumption that cannot be quantified.
Okay, let's go to the meat of the matter, and that has to do with the masses. The Labour has held government basically to a standstill on the issue of a fuel hike. But the feelers we're getting from the NNPC is that however we look at it, there has to be a price hike. So are we just delaying the inevitable? Do you see Labour being able to price things down for Nigerians? What are the alternatives, really, that will cushion the impact of a fuel hike that we know is coming on the citizens?
Look, we've tried a lot of impact. We've done the mass transit program, mass transit transportation. We've done trying to petroleum regulate. We've done a lot of things that have not really worked in terms of trying to see how you can minimize the sufferings of Nigeria in the area of society. Rather, we end up going deep into more corruption. Now, Nigerian Labour Congress should be sincere with themselves because some of them work in the oil industry to know how much most of this is. So some of them also are not telling the people the truth. So when we talk about subsidy removal, like I said, the best way we can curtail this is for government to begin to take some hits in terms of their own revenue. Whereby you see, when you see about landing costs, you talk about freight rate, you talk about demurrage rate, so much rate, you talk of custom, you talk of MPA. Those are that's where government should be looking at, not looking at just increasing the fuel price. Like I said, when you get this fuel product into Nigeria, by the time it gets to a Nigerian water, because of the rate that is caused by government, most of these prices goes up. It's not about whether the people like it or not. So government should be the one to begin to think about to remove subsidy through direct sources, not trying to put the burden on the people by increasing fuel prices or petroleum, especially. Why I agree with that, especially in the era of the pandemic. So a lot of Nigerians have lost their jobs, so you can't be putting more burden on them. So that is where, but for government to continue to pay subsidy, I don't think it's right for government to be paying subsidy because subsidy is encouraging a lot of corruption because we don't have the data to know how many cars are being subsidized. And again, when you look at subsidy, it has come with different names. Remember that this federal government came in and said, look, we are no more paying subsidy, we will not be paying subsidy. Then NNPC took it over until we started getting their financial reports that we saw that somebody somewhere is behind the crunch of this so-called subsidy that government is not paying, and they call it under recovery. They didn't call it subsidy. So it's of recent that the group managing director of NNPC is trying to let us know that, look, we are paying subsidy. But ordinarily before, they call it under recovery. So that's a part of the transparency that is not there when it comes to payment of subsidy that we keep talking about.
Mokhtar, staying with that same question, I'd like you to, from your position, you see a lot of things happen in the oil sector. What are the options? What likely options, basically, do you expect to see from the meeting between the NNPC and Labour, which seems to be dragging?
I think they have no options. That's why you're seeing the meeting is dragging, because the government are sticking to their guts. We can continue to pay subsidy, and Labour is saying, no, we want petroleum prices to remain like that. And the only solution to this problem is, one, we have our refineries working. If the refineries are working, we won't be insured in all these controversies. That will reduce costs in terms of most of those rates that are being charged. It's not that the international price will not be the same, but like I told you, there are a lot of charges that they pay them through when this crude this refined petroleum product lands in the Nigerian water. So all those charges will be off it, and that could bring back down the price of petroleum product, even if the price is higher in terms of the crude market price. So that could be one. But as it stands now, Nigerian refineries are not even operating up to 10% capacity. So we are importing over 90% of our petroleum products. So there's nothing they can do than to, that's what labor, that's why government is sticking and labor is saying, no, you have to do something. And when you listen to labor argument is what I've said initially, that they are saying, look, you need to take some bite also in terms of your revenue so that the people will not suffer. That is, they don't have so much option to do. Rather, government takes some bites for the short term, then make sure we have private refinery running, then you create a level playing field. And then we could say it's history talking about subsidy. Long-term procedure, let the refinery work. How do you want the refinery to work? Not what government is trying to do by turnaround maintenance of particular refineries. What I mean by when I want the government to make refineries work, I want the government to begin to think of modular refinery, giving private sector the key to begin to run that petroleum sector while government receive tax. Unbungle the NNPC, pass the petroleum industry bill into law so that we begin to see private sector, we begin to see them run that very highly sensitive breadwinner of Nigerian economy with transparency and honesty. Then also we know government is celebrating one they are celebrating the Dangote refinery will be coming on stream. So if you look at that like that, then those are the ways out. But those ways are the long-term solution. But the short-term solution, government take a bite on your revenue.
All right, Mukhtar Mohammed, the financial analyst, also monitoring stuff and all the proceedings in the petroleum sector. Thank you very much for coming on Breakfast Central and at least breaking it down and also reminding us about the breadwinner of Nigeria's economy, petrol. Thank you once again.
My pleasure.
All right.
Have a good day.
Wow.
To be honest with you, each time we talk about fuel price, I just feel sad that we live in a country that is supposed to be rich in oil, yet we can't seem to wrap things, get it right when it comes to ensuring availability for citizens.
Hit the nail on the hammer with the talk about Nigeria speaking now, refineries, capacity. Something has to give with the refining capacity. If not, we are all, and I say we Nigerians, we're all
44 refineries supposedly, but only 5 working.
It will still remain on this, government doesn't want to take a bite, labor doesn't want to take a bite. People will always take a bite. Refineries don't work. We have to import 90% of that capacity.
Quite unfortunate.
Wow, it just goes on and on and on and on. And when you talk about fuel, everyone just goes on the edge. Right then, we'll still have more to talk about right here on Breakfast Central after this short break, plus indeed sports. Do stay with us. Welcome back. Still Breakfast Central on April Fool's Day. I just can't get it out of my mouth. 1st of April.
It's 1st of April 2021. It's not April's Fool's Day.
Just in case somebody still wants to prank you this morning, tell them we've already watched Breakfast Central. Don't prank us.
Yes, that's a good one. That's a good one. Yes.
All right. Let's go straight to it. And yesterday, we'll continue from our discussion of yesterday, all about pink tax or tampon tax.
Yeah, network didn't let us have a proper conversation, so we're getting into it now. It's been estimated that 1 in 10 girls in Africa miss school because of menstruation. This is part of what is known as period poverty. Now, period poverty is not far-fetched from West Africa to East Africa and across the continent. Globally, more than 800 million women and girls menstruate each day, yet 500 million of them have no access to sanitary pads.
Well, about 3.4% of women in African prisons are forced to go through their monthly periods without sanitary wares, and women and girls with special needs and disabilities, which is disproportionately do not have the access to affordable pads. Likewise, those in conflict zones around the northeast Nigeria.
The aftermath of natural disasters also make it more difficult for women and girls to access sanitary products to manage their period. Now, the lack of affordable sanitary products has resultant effects on women and girls' health, power dynamics in relationships, and the height of it all is that it leads to increase in gender inequality.
All right, but one African country is joining those who are getting rid of that, what is known as pink tax or the tampon tax. Now, women and girls in Namibia will no longer have to be charged a luxury tax rate of 15% when it comes to value-added tax on sanitary products. Now, this is because the Namibian government has eliminated the VAT on sanitary products. This one comes weeks after Namibia's Deputy Minister of Information, that's Emma Theophilos, tabled a motion that tax on sanitary products be removed for at least and reduced by 3%. Well, joining us this morning to talk about is that from Namibia is none other than Indilo Mpengwe, who we had yesterday. She's an advocate and a communications officer and the country coordinator of International Youth Alliance for Family Planning. Indilo, good morning. Welcome back to Breakfast Central.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me again.
All right, morning.
Good to see you. Research across the continent has found that women and girls have resorted to using all kinds of things that are unhygienic during their period. Some have even resorted to having sex to get money to buy sanitary products. There is a new law now. Tell us the reality in Namibia and how important this law is.
Thank you so much. I think it's so important that we recognize that this is really a broader conversation on reproductive justice and bodily autonomy and bodily integrity. As we know that so many adolescent girls, young women, and gender diverse persons they do not have the same socioeconomic agency and therefore do not have access to sanitary products or cannot afford sanitary products. And I think also the larger conversation is when we're talking about reproductive justice with young girls using other alternatives for their sanitary products, it's the same conversation as abortions and the way that young girls also go for backdoor abortions, etc. So the reaction right now is that we're still looking at this specific law settling in only by next year. But the importance then is that government makes it so much more aware in all corners of the country that this specific product is now much more affordable. And I think the long-term conversation is really about getting it to be free.
All right, talking about getting it to be free, because Namibia is the latest African country to abolish tax on sanitary products. This is following likes of Kenya, Zambia, Rwanda, and South Africa. The conversation for many, has moved beyond scrapping it, the tax, making it free and accessible for women and girls. But, and we need to ask you this, Indilo, what you think about is that there are those who say that many African countries can't afford to make it completely free. What do you make of that?
I think it's something that is almost very, very, it's laughable because we are looking at also how many countries are in corruption scandals and the many ways that governments underutilize and even at most cases return funds to treasury. So that speaks a lot about prioritization, right? And really also making sure that on top of the goals, what is those long-term goals of the sustainable development goals that governments have also adopted in their institutions and in their constitutions, is that gender equality is at the front of that. And so we cannot say that there is no money or that they cannot afford to do that when we are looking really at gender equality. And that really looks at making sure that there is economic justice, there is reproductive justice, and that every girl and young woman and gender diverse person also enjoys the same liberties and freedoms as everybody else. So if that is also at the front of our government's priority, then equally that trickles down to sanitary products and the affordability thereof, and all other kinds of reproductive justice outcomes with that.
Would you be among those who support calls that the AU should make it mandatory for a total eradication of any sort of tax on sanitary products, considering the fact that poor access to quality products might have long-term effect on women and girls?
Definitely. So that is two-layered, right? Because the one part is that you want to make sure that the sanitary products are good quality, irrespective of whether or not they are free. But on the other side is the long-term goal should be that there should be a total eradication on the pricing so that it is much more affordable. We're talking about long-term gender equality. We are talking about access to an education that is also implicated in the fact that some girls and some women cannot afford and therefore they cannot go to school. We are looking also at broader conversations like access to water, hygiene, all of that really makes sure that it encompasses the whole broader conversation as I was speaking to on reproductive justice. So it is a step forward that they can do, and they can subsidize it with something else for any kind of income, because for the longest time, this has not been prioritized. And hence, this is why so many adolescent girls and young women and gender diverse persons do not have access to an education, or they are delayed, they are behind with so many other things. And so if this is the first step in that right direction, that radical step, then they should do so.
All right, Ndilo. This brings us back to one of the themes of this topic, which is actually period poverty in Africa for women and girls. It's not just lawmakers who often shy away from talking about menstruation. It is a sensitive topic, and raising concerns about women's menstrual health in Parliament across Africa. Our societies still find it a bit hard to talk about these issues, which leads to stigma, lack of education, and shame, and sometimes issues being unaddressed. Now, how do we, take this from being a, hush-hush conversation and then being confronted and open? Perhaps that might even lead to this, removal of tax on sanitary products.
Definitely, and I think that really speaks to bringing more awareness. And I think awareness has been there. Awareness has already trickled into communities. And we really need to look at how to bring in more intersectional awareness, targeting misogyny that often fuels this stigma and the prejudice around, especially women's health. And that also leads to HGBV and all other sorts of social ills that we currently are subjected to as women and gender diverse persons. So it really speaks to dismantling and that awareness coming into communities. But I wanted to also say that it's important to recognize how all of these issues are very, very intersectional. When we look at economic justice, just recently from the Namibian Human Development Report, it really gave us so many statistics about the status of women's economic productivity or inclusion in our economy. And already that gave the information, or that informed us that, again, women are not empowered on so many other levels. So when we're talking about awareness, it has to be intersectional, because the empowerment, or the disempowerment rather, is so layered. And so we cannot afford to just have one conversation without including all the others.
All right.
Definitely. The issue around women's health is a continuous one. Time is not our friend. We just say thank you very much, Ndilo, for joining us and sharing your thoughts with us.
Definitely. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to the next conversations.
Oh, yes. So are we. So are we, definitely.
What's going on in Namibia? Yes. And you've just given us quite a context about this. And once the law is passed and goes to a next phase, we'll clearly have you back on the program to tell us, how women and girls have embraced it in the country, and perhaps what the men, are talking about it, what they're saying, how they feel about it all. Well, thank you very much once again, Ndilo.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Have a good day.
Wow. All right. So there you have it. Let's see if perhaps other people and other countries might, key into
There's
this.
so much I want to say, but because of time, I'm just going to shut my mouth and...
No, don't shut it. No, please. Sorosoki. That is where we are right now.
All right, coming up, sports. Stay with us.
Okay, so straight to sports we go. No time to waste. I'd love to start on the African scene, but big news in the world of football. 2 words. North Macedonia. Yes, because they defeated, it's a country, yes, defeated Germany. Yes, 2-1. The likes of Goran Pandev on the score sheet for North Macedonia. He was a former Inter Milan player. We saw, Gundogan scoring, but that one from Ilmaz beating the German goalkeeper in the 85th minute, meaning that Germany have lost a qualifying match for the World Cup for the first time in 20 years. The last time they did so was back in 2001. And how about that for a miss from Chelsea's Timo Werner? Now, that was a rigged miss for Germany, and it cost them dearly. They lost to a team that are ranked 65th in the world, and Germany are ranked what? Like 13th in the FIFA rankings right now. So a big blow for Germany. You can imagine what the morning papers might say based on today's April Fool, and they lost last night to North Macedonia. So let me just leave it that way. But there you have it. North Macedonia beating Germany by 2-1. Let's see other results that came from the World Cup qualifying matches played yesterday. There were likes of England also having a victory. Yes, Scotland 4-0 over Faroe Islands. Andorra losing 4-1 to Hungary. England beating Poland by 2-1. Harry Kane and Harry Maguire on the score sheet. No Robert Lewandowski for Poland. San Marino losing 2-0 to Albania. Armenia 3-2 over Romania. Just like I said, Germany losing at home to North Macedonia. And Liechtenstein losing 4-1 to Iceland. Well, there will be other results. This is the likes of Greece against Andorra. Spain 3-1 over Kosovo. Lithuania losing 2-0 to Italy. Northern Ireland 0 with Bulgaria. France, who are the world champions, scored 1 goal. It was from that man called Antoine Griezmann away to Bosnia and Herzegovina. 1-0 at one finish. Ukraine against Kazakhstan 1-1. Austria losing 4-0 at home to Denmark. And Israel away to Moldova, finishing by 4-1. Well, we can come back to the African continent. Well, Lagos still perhaps reeling from the celebrations of what happened on Tuesday night, where Nigeria defeated, Lesotho by 3-0. News Central was there with Onye Obaro, who gave us this interesting report on how things went on the day.
It was a very comfortable evening for the Super Eagles of Nigeria, who ended their qualifying campaign for the African Cup of Nations with a 3-0 triumph over Group L's bottom side, Lesotho.
An opportunity for him and a chance to as Paul Onuachu!
A goal from man of the match, Victor Osimhen, in the first half was added to by Genet Karo Tebo and Paul Onuachu in the second to take Nigeria into 14 points from just 6 games.
You're off the ante, and he's seen enough.
The whole team played a crucial part in the win, as coach Kenneth Rowe was delighted to be able to have back in the field Everton's Alex Iwobi from the start. He had been in doubt until the late negative COVID-19 test.
All right, so there you have it. Well, let's see when next we get to see Nigeria play in Lagos. As for me, what can I do on that deal? With too much traffic.
Yeah. All right, let's take on our timeline this morning. Mine is just something to put a smile on your face.
As
when
always.
The mother and the child synchronizes. It's lovely to see. Take a look.
My God,
I find out really cute, and I just wanted to share with you.
All right, that's an interesting one. Let's go to mine. Drama. All right, so let's take this tweet from, I guess, a lawyer, I think. Yeah, Alexandra Ijoma Uzoke. So this had lots of retweets and comments. It says, I rejected a marriage proposal because I did not have a stable source of income. And even though the young man was cool with me not having a job, I refused to be broke and marry someone. My papa, which is my father, no green. Last, the man stopped talking to me. I pray he invites me to his wedding. Okay, so she rejected the marriage proposal, and that caused lots of comments on social media in Nigeria. This one from Night of the Zanga goes, did you give him an option of waiting while you job hunt? And his response to say, I told him to give me 2 years. He said it was too long. And that created more comments about, okay, why won't he wait? But it's your partner now. Where do you go from here? So OVA goes to say, nice one, barrister, because she has, that lawyer week there. But if not Dangote Pikin, like Dangote's son, who's the richest man in Africa, basically, says, if you're Dangote speaking, you for no reject the proposal. And she says, LOL, that would have been really hard, but still my decision would stand. And that, really opened up Pandora's box about,
No, I think from her perspective, she has her point of argument, but it's not a cotton soul thing.
Yeah.
This thing has to do a lot, I believe, 80% with emotion and 20% with every other thing, practicality, in my thinking. So there must be some sort of connection for you to say you want to get married. You will make other consideration, of course. It's important to be financially independent, and she's entitled to it. But again, different strokes for different folks.
Because someone asked, okay, if you don't marry because of job, or okay, if you have a job and you're married, when you lose your job, do you go out of the marriage you get?
Good question. Good question. So it's not a cotton nail thing.
Yeah.
There are different angles.
Well, there were
to
lots of
look at
positive
it.
comments about, oh, you go, girl, independent, do what you don't have to go in if you feel you want to be independent financially.
Sometimes I wish I can be an adult for a few days and then come back to being an adult. Trust me, it's overhyped.
The bills still wait for you. That's our package for you on the program. We'll see you again tomorrow on the 2nd of April 2021. Have yourselves a fantastic 1st of April and watch your step on April Fool's Day. Never.
Don't get pranked like me. Bye for now.